It's a brisk morning.
It is that.
It is a clear morning. And I think clarity is coming in more and more about the Nebraska football team. Yesterday was a loss, pounding. For those that say, Nebraska played hard, they played tough, I give you that. I'll listen to that. I'll entertain that conversation. But also, what I know is what I saw. And if Michigan wanted to put 70 or 80 on us, they easily could have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they let up there as well. Why risk an injury? Why risk that when you know you got it in the bag?
Yeah, exactly. So, what we've learned yesterday versus what we knew. Learning yesterday, boy, we are a long ways from where any other Big Ten team is in the trenches. And I truly believe that whomever is next in charge next year for the 2023 season, there has got to be conviction and convincing to Trev Alberts that whoever they bring in for the strength and conditioning, that the number one priority is that offense and defensive line strength. Those trenches have got to get improved.
Isn't that sad considering that that was what made Nebraska Nebraska for so many years, what made Nebraska be the national championships? They were the first one to just endorse that and to jump on the bandwagon and to realize the benefits of strength and conditioning. To get away from it shocks me.
It's unbelievable how far they've fallen down in that aspect. Constantly losing games that way. I mean, Michigan on a 3rd and 3 or a 3rd and 7, it didn't matter. They were going to run the ball right at us. And the blue wave was just pushing the red defensive line back,
Yeah.
backpedaling. It was amazing. And then on the flip side, um, anytime Nebraska had the ball and they'd snap it, Michigan was 5 yards. Defense line is 5 yards up the field at our quarterback. So lots to work on right there. They got a tough task ahead of them because it doesn't get any easier. You got two very physical teams, and that is one of the weaknesses right now for Nebraska. You got Wisconsin coming in next week at 11 a.m., who just lost to an Iowa team, which makes no sense at all. But I like I've been saying, I don't think the Big Ten West is that good this year at all.
It's been a show, that's for certain. But Iowa, excuse me, in Iowa's defense, they have been coming on the last couple of weeks. The quarterback actually put something together last week, a little bit more this week. It's surprising. There was even talk. It was funny, on, how things change. There was even talk of Iowa, having a chance at winning the West. So who knows? It. Nebraska certainly doesn't want to catch a team on that much of a hot streak right now.
No, no, not at all. And the three fighting for the Big Ten West right now is you can write these down. It's Iowa, Purdue, and Illinois. Which one of those teams instills fear in Michigan or Ohio State?
No, they might as well play a high school team.
We got,
it's a two-team show, that's for sure. It's the big two.
and when they get rid of divisions here, the Big Ten, that's gonna be much better because now you play the best two at the end of the season, which is what I want to get to. I want to get to that point. I want to get to the point where you don't have divisions because, good Lord, I mean, if you want to talk, if you're going to try to sell Nebraska on how to come to the Big Ten, why to come to the Big Ten, first of all, was the money. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they sell them as, well, you're going to be in the Big Ten West. The toughest opponent you're going to have will probably be Iowa, Wisconsin. With Nebraska said, okay, we'll go ahead and take that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's worked out the way they anticipated.
I'd say the opposite of that. We just had that discussion before we went on air of it's been a while. Um, my question had been, when was the last bowl game, and had to think back, and all three of us had to scratch our heads and think back. And I don't think the Big Ten was what Nebraska expected. I remember them saying, "Oh, we're going to own this, we're going to rule this." Hasn't been the situation. But now this year, that being said, it would have taken a mammoth team to beat Michigan. I mean, they're a very strong team. I get, now, granted, should we have put up more than 3 points? Yeah, probably. But what a team!
And Michigan's really, really good. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday. They've been losing the first half. I think like the last 4 games prior to this one. But the biggest thing that Michigan does is their adjustments. They can see what they need to fix, and not only do they fix it, they execute at a high level with those adjustments. And that's, I think, where Nebraska has to get back to, whichever coach comes in. because with Frost, the adjustments just weren't there. Um, this here is where the assistant coaches you bring in, this is where you open up the checkbook and say, all right, let's get the best in here.
Yeah, and Nebraska's not afraid to pay coaches, so I don't think that'll be an issue. There's no money shortage at the University of Nebraska, but talking about being able to adjust on the fly and read the defense, that's something we've been talking about, like you said, more than just this year, but for sure this year. It I don't know if it's just an example. This is what we were taught this week. We're going to just play this, or I mean the with the films there, the tapes there, just watch what happened on the previous set of downs and adjust. But you're exactly right. It's not happening at all.
What we learned versus what we know. Um, I really would love to learn new things about this team. That would be exciting. I don't like knowing everything. I don't like saying, okay, it's game day. This is what's going to happen, A, B, C, and D, and then we know that's what happens.
Yeah.
The outcome is it's going to be still the same. So bringing somebody in here, whether it's Mickey and he brings in his own staff or somebody else, I don't care. Proven track record of success, but teach us Husker fans, teach us something we haven't seen for a while. Let us learn stuff new every week about our team and how much better they can get, how much better they can progress, and how much better they can go to the next step. We just don't like knowing everything, and I hate knowing everything. And about this team, you know everything.
Unfortunately, what you see is what you get, right? I'm afraid we talked a little bit about this before we went on air too. Is this was probably Mickey's pink slip? I mean, my opinion. And that's all this is the opinion of Todd Riley. But and nobody expects him to beat a Michigan. Nobody. But could we compete? That'd be kind of nice. Could we throw up more than 3 points? Could we? I think you nailed it on the head there when you said we know what we have. And it's no different today than it was 5 games ago, than it was 3 seasons ago. We were kind of all hoping at least to see, like you said, something new, something fresh. It looks the same to me.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to give us a call early in the morning on Sunday, Honda of Lincoln Hotline, 402-464-5685. Moving forward with Nebraska, this Casey Thompson, we have to have him. I mean, to have a legit chance, we have to have him. We learned yesterday that Chuba was probably the better option than Logan. Once again, Husker fans, we know more than the coaches do. So, for the last couple of weeks, pining for Logan Smothers. No offense to the kid, he might be injured, he might not, I don't know. But Chuba obviously showed with a full week of preparation, he was the better of the two. But there is just a tremendous drop off from quarterback 1 to 2, and again, that has to go on the coaching staff. Not this one, but with Frost's coaching staff. A backup quarterback is essential. A backup quarterback is essential. And when you have the transfer portal and you have kids that have experience, it's okay to bring in someone with experience to be your number 2.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. There's been teams over the years that have just focused on community colleges and D2s and 3s and found somebody that, well, heck, I remember when I went to UNO and they still had a football team. That's how long ago that was. Thanks, Trev. But I digress. They would go to the community colleges and offer the kid, 2 more years of scholarship. Well, do the same concept here. What do you have to lose? Do some digging, do some research. Somebody's out there as a gem. Again, maybe not a starter, maybe not your starter against Michigan or Ohio State, but a real reliable backup. When something like this happens, you come in and you don't at least cost the game. You manage it to where if no other mistakes are made, maybe you got a shot.
Yeah, exactly. Now we talked about the negative, we talked about the boring, the bland, and everything else between. Positives from the game yesterday. There was very few, but was the effort there? Yes. Did some young guys look like they might have a good future here? Absolutely, yes. Ernest Hausman, the linebacker, had a good game. He showed his acceleration on that sack he had. Was that second quarter? Second, I think so. Yep. Where JJ rolls out to the left, and it's 3rd down and 3, and he rolls out to the left, and it's a 5-yard sack for 4th and 8, which Hausman just showed his acceleration. So that was fun to see. Linebackers are missing Henrich. We,
Yeah.
we are. It'd be nice to have him, but um, pass rush, we had a couple sacks again. So for those of you going to McDonald's today, is the Big Mac sack. You got. I think I got two or three of those. So that was worth it right there as well.
Fantastic.
Um, but this offense, you have to throw it for the run game. Unfortunately, it's not the opposite. And the only way you can run the ball is if you have a very established offensive line, a stud running back, and a scheme that's just in place. If you don't have that, um, you gotta have something. So the pass for us has to open up the run, but dinking and dunking and little 5 yard passes is just not going to get done.
Well, and you said yourself, whether you're running or passing, when you have blue uniform back in the backfield before your running back is up to get the ball, even, what are you going to do? I mean, and Adrian Peterson couldn't run through that. I mean, that was, at least not very often. I mean, that was just unfortunately, where do you start? And I'm not familiar. Maybe you are. I'm not real familiar with what the freshman and sophomore class at Nebraska looks like. Is there hope for the future, Jay?
There's always hope. The problem that Nebraska's had, and it goes back to Mike Riley, developing our players, developing the talent. We get the mold of clay here on campus. We're not creating sculptures with it. We're leaving it a mold of clay and assuming it's going to grow on its own. And that's where the biggest downfall for Nebraska has been, is their player development. They're getting talent in this program. I have no doubt about that. They're getting some top tier talent in this program. I have no doubt about that. But the coaches are not developing them to their full potential. And that's an indictment on the coaches right there. That's why I said, whatever assistant coaches you bring in here, open up that checkbook and make sure you get some of the very, very best. It's because it's kind of like what we do at our office. We bring new people in all the time. They're wide eye, scared, moldy piece of clay, and we have to mold them to be successful. And if we don't, it's not their fault unless they're actually not trying or wanting it. It's our fault. And so the same thing with Nebraska coaches is you have these players that are here. Let's get the best out of them.
That's funny. I was actually just thinking that exact same analogy, Jay, because we've been very fortunate to hire some fantastic people. And what was I put on the board the other day? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I don't know if we are seeing that. I'm sure we're seeing it from some, but not all. And it might just be a case, you know, this at our office, we try so hard to have a positive outlook all the time and to set big goals and to reach for things. We just had a record breaking month. As you know, last month was our biggest ever. I think that's missing at Nebraska. You know, I'd like to go in the clubhouse with them. I'd like to go in the locker room with them and just see what is being said. I mean, and every day at practice, there should, you know, everybody knows the famous Notre Dame play like a champion today sign. Have something like that. Build something like that. People become what you expect them to become. And I'm afraid, and that works positive and negative. And I'm afraid for the last 3-4 coaches, the expectation has been on the negative side, and voila, they live out what they're expected of.
Exactly. Well, they showed videos before of the coaches talking to the players. And one thing I always look for is if I'm bought in, if I'm fully engaged, if I'm 100% on board and somebody's talking to me and I believe in them 100%, I'm looking at them in the eye when they're talking to me, whether in my face or 10 yards away. When you watch the video of these coaches talking to players, a lot of times you see heads down, you see looking elsewhere. It's like the 7-year-old playing in the grass in a baseball game, right? They're not fully engaged. When Nebraska and Mickey's starting to do that, but we still don't. There's still no culture at Nebraska. There's none.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to say we're tough. We want to say we're physical. No, we're not. We want to say we're championship, tier one program. No, we're not. We were championship. We got away from that. Um, so, like I said, when somebody comes in and you have 110 guys that when the coach is talking, everybody's looking at the coaches, no one's heads down, no one's looking around, then you'll see change in the culture because everybody's bought in. We're just not there yet.
I agree. And I think Nebraska fans have to remember too, if you look in the stadium, it's an elderly stadium. We could hold a seminar in that stadium with American Senior Benefits. And that's great. Those people do remember when Nebraska was winning championships. They do remember the Big 8 championships. The kids playing today were not alive
No.
when that happened. They're their parents were in school still when all that happened. It doesn't just automatically transfer. We have a fantastic outlook and a fantastic goal setting and all that at our office, but we have to instill that to every new person that comes in. We have to treat everybody special. We have to build everybody up. This is the same thing. You can't rely on something that happened when these kids weren't alive. When you remember when you were 20 years old, a year seemed like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy now how fast time flies. I was thinking just this morning, something like a 20-year goal that I was thinking of in my head. And I'm like, holy cow, I'm going to be 74 in 20 years. How did that happen? To these kids, 20 years might as well be 20 lifetimes. So you do have to install a whole new attitude. I would bring back, and I'm sure the trophy case is loaded. I'm sure all that. But again, these kids are looking at that like, my dad was in junior high when that happened. They're thinking, build something today. Don't say, and don't keep saying, well, back in the day we were such and such. Don't make that a negative, make it a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And install, like you were just saying, install that winning mentality. Give them something to be proud of. Give them something, not the past, but say, hey, look, it can be done. Now you guys go do it. You guys be the next generation of great.
You know what solves all problems? Winning.
Yes, it does.
Just win.
Sale
baby.
cures anything, right, Jay?
Just win. Winning solves all problems. Todd Riley along with Jay Stoll, Rico behind the mic here at 93.7 The Ticket, American Senior Benefits Family Hour. Casey Thompson, like I said, we don't know the outlook. I think he's done. I do. If we're talking nerve damage again and having trouble gripping a ball, that comes and goes routinely. There's nothing you can do to get a good gauge on that. So moving forward, we don't know the extent of the injury with Chuba. So we have Logan and a walk-on from Norfolk, correct?
The two quarterbacks that they took yesterday were
Cynic, wasn't it?
Was Matt Masker, who's a walk-on from Kearney Catholic, and Jarrett Cynic, who's a walk-on from Hastings.
Oh, Hastings, right. Let's go.
They have Heinrich Harburg, the scholarship quarterback from Kearney Catholic. They have Richard Torres, a scholarship quarterback from Texas. And then a bunch of walk-ons, yeah.
I'm going to do Nebraska's recruiting for them. Anybody out there watching on YouTube, listening to us on the radio, if you're a good quarterback and you'd like to play, hey, guess where next year would be a really good landing spot for you?
that would be come on aboard. That would be great.
I can do it.
That would be great. So, all right. So we have Harburg, who don't know if he's going to be a quarterback. Boy, he'd make an excellent tight end, a flex, big old wide receiver. But if he wants to play quarterback, I don't know if this is the school for him because he's way down on the depth chart. Torres has got a rocket arm, which is great. But if there's still continually no time to throw the ball, he's a sitting duck. And he's coming off his knee injury, so that's not going to happen anytime this year. So we have dear old Nebraska U walk-ons. Let's go.
Next man up, right? And you hear that from the great teams. Unfortunately, that we haven't seen that here. The next man up has not normally produced, but then sometimes the first man up hasn't exactly produced either. But again, it's when the rest of the state, I've been fortunate to live in 7 or 8 different states. The intensity of the fans here, the want of the fans here. I would think if you're a kid from Nebraska, you grew up in North Platte, you grew up in Scottsbluff, you grew up in Omaha, you grew up in Lincoln. You listen to your parents talking about the old days. You listen to your grandparents talking about the old days. That should be a heck of a motivation. But anything becomes a habit, as you know, good or bad. It takes 21 days to change a habit. I'm afraid the habit has become, here we let my parents down again. Oh, we let our grandparents down again because we're not as good as we were. Again, I think it seriously starts with attitude more than anything else at this point, and then build from there.
They're not used to winning.
Right.
Again, winning solves all. If you're not used to it, you don't know how to grow off it, accept it, move on, and appreciate it more than anything. It's almost like a surprise birthday party. Hey, great. Now we wait another year for next one. Anthony Grant. I was thinking about this. Rico, does he go pro? I'm going to tell you why as well. There's great tape
I
on
think
him.
he has another year.
Do you think he wants to? Will he go? He might be a 5th or 6th round pick. Let's say that. There's good tape on him.
I don't think he does unless he does want to take a chance on himself. Him and Casey can come back another. The thing is, a lot of the offense and the defense can come back next year.
Mhm.
It just depends on if they want to or not.
And who the coaches want back as well.
Yeah, so you've got a big contingent of the team that can come back, and that would befit the Husker football program, despite whoever the coach is. Just because in the Big Ten, we always talk about it. You want to get old and stay old, and
Mhm.
having guys with an entire year of experience would be really nice to have come back.
That would be great. My thought is if you're a Trey Palmer, if you're an Anthony Grant, if you have NFL potential and ability, do you want to come back for a year of rebuilding where you can lose that momentum,
Or get
or
injured.
exactly, or the fact that there's good game tape on you showing that there is a lackluster offensive line and there is lackluster around you, but still able to put up some monster games. The NFL goes off potential.
Yeah.
They want potential. It's like the NBA, right? NBA is going to take a 16-year-old and put him in the G League now.
Right.
That's something they got to look at.
But I would sure get it too if I was that kid and I got a 3rd, 4th round shot. Like I said, what if I don't like this next coach? What if I'm healthy today? I haven't had a serious injury. It'd be tough to talk me into sticking around.
Mhm.
I mean, I think when the coaching decision's made, that person's going to have to land with both feet running already.
Yeah.
And build on that, because as Rico just said, it the experience that you bring, you don't think about. But how would you like to, Rico or Jay, to be a freshman kid from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and walk into the Michigan Stadium, walk into the Ohio State Stadium, and see that? You can't tell me that's not intimidating. I mean, you've been to the Nebraska games, but it's a friendly crowd. You go to Michigan, you see the thousands and tens of thousands of people, not for you. Man, maybe the biggest high school game you played had 200 people at it. It would be a mind blower. So to be able to keep some experience, just say, okay, here's what's going to happen, bud. When you get into the stadium, they're going to say this and they're going to do that. And the Iowa visitors locker room is pink and things like that, just to give them a heads up.
Oh gosh, yeah. And well, I did notice the separated Nebraska Michigan team from the tunnel as well.
Yeah.
Didn't let them intergate with each other.
That's probably wise universally, I think.
So there has been some talk of the next coach, right? We discussed that a little bit. Where are you guys leaning towards? Rico, I mean, I've heard you on stage before. Right, this first time working with you here, which was an honor, dude. What are we leaning towards? Are we leaning towards staying with what we got and bringing in surrounding supporting cast, or just dumping the ship and starting all over again?
Depends on who you've got in the wings waiting, or who you've decided to hire, who has said yes. Because I mean, I think Mickey Joseph can get the job done. I think he's done a really good job of galvanizing the team and getting everybody to be prepared on game days. It's just, he was given chicken bleep and asked to make chicken salad. So it's a little harder to do that. But I think if, he can build on the momentum that he has going right now with recruiting and commitments and everything, despite having such a bad season, then he can make something happen. And I know for a fact that he's the kind of guy who knows that he's not the most knowledgeable person about everything. So he will bring in people and surround himself with people who know more than he does. And that's great to say, because he's been coaching for 20 plus years, but he knows himself that there are things that he doesn't know about the game, or things that people know a little bit better than him about the game. And he's smart enough to know that he needs to surround himself with more talented people than he. And that would go a long way in keeping this, or getting this Husker program back on track.
That was my sentiment exactly. I think Mickey is excellent. I think he needs a head coach advocate just to kind of help him out, someone that's been there before. Bring in somebody that is a senior to him that can help groom him while he maintains this position. It's worked very well for Michigan. It's worked very well for Clemson. Texas, if Sarkisian would actually listen to Gary Patterson, I think would be a little more successful. But yeah, I think that'd be the ultimate way to go right there. Is if you keep Mick, right, and that's my choice. But you bring in somebody more experienced, like a Gary Patterson or somebody else that has about 2 or 3 or 4 years left that wants to not take the full reins, but just groom a younger guy.
I think it's going to be dump and flush, guys. That's my opinion. I think, and that's not an insult to anybody. I just think that that's what's going to happen. I think, coaches are funny. They just keep swirling around and they pop up in a new area. And I think Mickey's proven himself enough that he might get a heck of a job somewhere else. Maybe not quite on this level yet, but look at like Deion Sanders that has taken over a monster team. What a funny rumor he was coming here too, right?
Yeah, he would love the Midwest cold,
yeah.
and everything the Midwest has to offer that is not down the South. He'd love that.
I just think the next person that gets Mickey is going to be a fortunate team.
Yep.
And I think he'll be fortunate to go to land in that spot. I don't, and obviously I could be wrong. We're all experts today, right? When we're not the person.
That's how that works. We've got